shaved in his uterus area?
Here we go. And I gotta remember to mute myself right away. Okay. Hey, we're live. Welcome to this June episode of Artist Spotlight. We are excited to talk about When Time today, and I'm just like sharing this chat around, so don't mind me while I multitask. But with me here today is some of the creative team. It looks like all ladies this evening. Myself, Stacy Bush, and do we want to go around and just do a little intro?
Ooh, that was a cattail.
Cattail coming in and out.
Wow.
Casey, you start.
Yeah. I'm Casey Jane, and I'm playing Casey as an actor in When Time.
And I am Callie Sringus, and I am a writer for When Time and also a director.
Oh, I'm Sasha, and I'm playing the cello, and I'm singing things, and I'm hitting things, and yeah, doing a whole bunch of junk. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And actually, we're all based in Kansas City, except for Callie here, who lives in New York City and will be joining us for the show.
Yes, very excited. I know everyone has been doing really great acting with the Zoom lovely virtual director, which has its challenges and also its perks. And so that is like a really nice thing that the pandemic has allowed us to do. I can direct a show that is in Kansas City while I live in New York. So yeah.
And we have little Callie on an iPad, like Callie's head on a music stand, and we kind of move you back and forth. It's very like futuristic, and then there's just 3 actors in a room, and we're like, oh my god, there's no leaders here when we say goodbye to Callie. Like, we could do anything.
That's
Just kidding, we wouldn't though.
Have you done that before?
Have I done virtual directing before?
Yeah, directed as just a head, I guess.
I have never directed as a head. No, I have never experienced it, but it is very Jetsons. Maybe it's like what they imagined would be happening right now.
Can you tell me more about the perks? Because I can imagine like why it would be annoying, but tell us about why it's like.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I get to be present in a way that I might not have been. Like I might not have been able to direct anyone or be in the room just because of, like I can't afford to just like live in Kansas City for a month, Well, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't make it work to have multiple rents, even though when I come, I'll be.
It's a practical perk.
It's a practical perk, and also like you get to do more things. I feel like now that things are virtual, we can do things that we maybe might not have been able to do before because people are in different places, but we're all just like figuring it out. And so here we are figuring it out and collaborating. And so that's perk. I get to collaborate.
Well, it's a perk also because Callie and I are actually friends from high school, and we don't live anywhere near each other for a long time now. And so maybe without this pandemic, like we would have never actually been able to collaborate together. So
I know, that's true.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
And we've been working on it for a while. I mean, Stacy, you've been working on it for a while, but
yeah,
this is like stems back now for how long?
Yeah, I wrote I've had the idea for this project since I actually did something similar for I moved here to do my master's in composition, and my thesis for that degree was like similar, kind of like new music with like a choir and some dancers, and it was like specifically portraying my individual like journey with addiction. I was that was a while ago. I was like 3 years sober or something like that. And I was really inspired by this like actual piece of like this worksheet that we got when I was in rehab. And it was like this parabola. And I know we just like don't, now we're in it. Just
Just dive right in. Just
but it was like this worksheet and it had this like U-shape, you know, like parabola thing. And they told us like, okay, just look at the top left of the U and don't look at the whole worksheet, and then just like read, you know, as you go down and stop when you get to like the place where it doesn't apply to you anymore or whatever. And so like down on the like that one side, it was like everything that happens to you in addiction, and on the upside it was like kind of the road of recovery or whatever. So I started at the top and I was like doing it. I was like, yes, 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 yes. And I got down to the very bottom where it was like this infinity symbol, and it just said like circling the drain, and which is a kind of recovery euphemism for like you're gonna die. But so yeah, it was really shocking, and I kind of was like, what? I'm so young to be, how did I like get all the way down here already? Because I was actually 21. So it happened very quickly. But anyway, then I read, you know, the other half, and I was just like, it just, of all the worksheets and crap and like randomness and like very unhelpful stuff that happens in rehab, like for some reason that like really stuck with me. And so my thesis was like, I took that U shape and I like, that was the shape of the show, and it kind of like followed that journey. But and at that show I had like some social workers there who were like, have you ever thought about doing this for, you know, like schools, or, you know, just kind of having it be more public facing as a way to like talk about the stuff and like facilitate discussion around the topic. And I was like, I've never ever once realized that is something that I could do. And so that's kind of how No Divide got started. And so this project has been in the works for a long time. This is the very long answer to this. Yeah, this is like a much cooler show than that original idea. And I'm really excited to do it, especially with all these great friends. So.
Well, yeah, you went all the way back, but I meant too, just like with the last time you did it with JJ, like just when like She Shed iteration of, you know, like making its way into When Time.
Yeah, I like wrote the proposal for it in like the summer of 2019, and for Charlotte Street, and then they were on board to do it in 2020, like the next year, and then the pandemic happened, and so now it's like summer of 2020
was a disaster.
But here we are.
Here we are.
And in the meantime, we did She Shed, which Callie also wrote some like funny, like really interesting like scenes between JJ and I. That summer coming back, even serendipitously, like Casey picked up a triangle in rehearsal yesterday and was like playing the triangle, which is something that Callie wrote about in She Shed. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, you guys reference She Shed a lot. You want to dive any deeper into exactly what that pertains to? I've heard that mentioned.
It was like I wanted to do a show that was kind of in the vein of One Time, in that it was like comedy and like performance mixed with new music. And I also kind of wanted to start writing for like to integrate instruments and like composition into the sketches and stuff. And so JJ and I performed it, and Callie wrote like these cool, funny scenes that we did.
And the title comes from, do you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that until you just said that. Yeah, like I don't know if you guys remember, there was like this She Shed commercial that was I know who even sees commercials.
It might be progressive.
It was fun. I
Yeah.
saw it on YouTube, and it was like really. It was like this woman. It was an insurance commercial, and her shed in the backyard like got struck by lightning, and it like just blew up in this big like fire, and she was just like staring at like her actual space being on fire. And then her husband, then they like cut to like her husband, you know, and she was like, my she shed's on fire, you know, and he said something like diminutive, you know, kind of like, oh, you know, like I forget exactly what it was, but it was basically like stop overreacting kind of thing.
Right.
It was the worst commercial. I don't know. Like, the vibe of it was so off to me, and like that's what
You were like, let's make a show out of this.
Yeah.
I like wanted to claim She Shed and like think of my studio as a she shed, basically.
Yes.
No, you literally shed.
What do I shed?
Oh no, you shred.
Oh,
Oh, shred.
what do I shed?
Am I shedding?
Am I shed hair? Yeah, in the summertime after a really bad burn.
On the cello?
Mm.
Yeah, I shred.
You're a she
Thank you.
shred.
I'm a she
You're a she
Yep.
shredder.
Shredder. Yeah.
Isn't that what you call your cello?
Yes, all the time. How did you know? You psychically knew.
Just gotta get out my she shredder.
What? Okay, we're on the same- okay, so it's She Shed. Did it have some? Was it all about the she shed?
Yeah. It was about her she shed being on fire and no one was like stepping in to save it. And like her husband was, I mean, you know, listen, if you want to watch She Shed, just we're on YouTube right now. Continue watching this talk, but then after this is over, Google She Shed,
I was like, am I supposed to do this right?
YouTube, maybe progressive. You can say insurance She Shed,
Oh, okay.
and that'll answer all of your questions.
You might not be as like struck by it as I was at that time, but it was still pretty funny to me. So
Your project, did it have
Mhm.
some, like it had a bunch of scenes and a bunch of music like this does, and this has a unifying theme of like addiction and
Look at that. You brought that all the way around. Yeah.
we're just not used to like this close of eye contact.
Not used to it. Okay. I'm watching you like this all the time. You just can't see me because I'm next to you. Anyway, so your Win Time has a cohesive message about addiction.
Yeah.
What did She Shed have? What was its message?
I
Or was
think-
it just like a?
I think it was both mostly to be like funny about women and like our space, like no one giving a shit about us and our space.
Yeah.
Like
That's sad.
in a funny way.
And I don't feel like
In a,
fine, but
in a lighthearted way.
I'm like, husband, go to the basement.
Fine. We have a very progressive relationship with a man.
How do you know he's mad?
Okay.
Too much.
Anyway.
Hey, Sasha, speaking of you being a cello shredder, I saw on your bio today that you have been on stage with Yo-Yo Ma and Michael Bublé.
That's true too. I almost touched his butt. But I
Ugh.
didn't.
No big deal.
That is like the most legit musician in town. Period.
I don't know about that. I don't look it up.
How did you almost touch his butt? What happened?
Oh, actually, okay, I shouldn't tell the story, but I'm going to anyway.
It's all good.
So Bublé came to town, and like when you play a big show with like a famous pop star, a lot of times it's fine, but sometimes you have to sign like these crazy contracts. Like when I played with Josh Groban, it was like, do not talk to him. Do not. It was not like don't look in his direction, but it almost was. It was the contract was intense, and it was like, please do not engage. And Michael Bublé, I think, was the same one. But that was like a new contract. Like this is new in the last 10 years. And if you played with him, a famous person before, they didn't have such stringent policy. And one of my friends played with him like a few years before in Nebraska. And she was like, "Oh, you're really cute. Can I touch your butt?" And I think she ended
Got
up
sued?
touching his butt. And then now they have, and I think I brought it up to him. I think we were allowed to talk to him. And I was like, "Oh, my friend
brought it up.
but I didn't actually touch it. I did. Josh Groban's dog did come up and lick my cello, and so I did interact with him.
Oh,
I still got paid, so you know.
You should have like claimed damages to your cello.
I should just sue.
yeah, just to like get his number for me.
You want Josh Groban's number?
Yeah. Do you have it? I would really like it.
I don't have it, but I can have his people call your people.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Except I can't really have no power.
You're not under contract anymore. You can like break all that shit, right?
Josh Groban, your thing?
Josh Groban is like someone who I definitely describe as like, that's my boyfriend. I don't have a lot of them, but there's just something about Josh Groban. Like he's like tall, I think, and he's funny, but he also has got that voice. And
He does have that.
like
I like his coloring.
yeah, he's got a good like nerd look. And
Sorry,
Yeah.
we might have gotten a little off topic.
yeah,
You're that into Josh Groban because that's just not wouldn't be my jam.
Who are you?
not your cup of tea.
Mm.
More of a buble, but kind of.
Real life. Okay.
My husband.
Oh God, come on. I mean, my husband's great. I mean, I've been there, done that, doing it now. Not interesting. Nobody wants to hear about that.
Not interesting.
I like that. You know, I don't like him in real life, but I liked him on the show. That Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. 'Cause he was so,
Oh, is he the young one?
he was so
Was
nice.
Jon Snow?
Jon Snow.
Yeah,
Ooh, and I like Benicio del Toro, but not now, like 15 years ago. And I like Johnny Depp like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are my,
That's kind of a range.
yeah.
Because at first I was like, oh, like good guy, like, and then Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
you know.
but he was a good guy, but then in the end, he had to.
I actually never watched Game of Thrones.
He had to drive it home. Just say that.
I was forced to watch Game of Thrones,
You didn't like it?
who I was partnered with. Okay, I
We might have gotten off topic. Slightly.
yeah, we are on topic. I will just say that George R. R. Martin has created a fantasy land that only exists for people that are like George R. R. Martin. like the way that women are written, even like Daenerys Targaryen. Okay, now we're getting into real
Whoa!
names, but like even that is like in service of men.
Uh-huh.
So okay, so that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Hot take.
But we all know where you're going. Yeah.
I'm thinking about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he could have gone a different way with her, and he originally did, and then at the end he pussied out. Oh, like you can't say that. I just, you know what I mean?
This is why I have to sign all these contracts. Like, maybe like Sasha, don't talk.
Sasha, yeah.
Yeah, just hand it to Sasha. They're like, everyone else is signing this too, Sasha.
You know what I mean? Like she could have been like the strongest female character of our time. You know what I mean? And then
I do.
Then he chose to make her something else.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
look back at
Yeah, I won't see it.
people would disagree with me, but anyway.
But you know, they made her insane in like 3 episodes. All of a sudden, she had no, you know, integrity. It was weird.
Change the like episode title to like Game of Thrones, women in film.
And Sasha
women.
says pussy. Sasha
Twice.
Says,
Twice. Because once wasn't enough.
yeah, that's right. What are you gonna do? Fire me?
No.
I don't think so.
Eye contact.
I know. Backing away.
Okay.
It's not.
All right.
So
All right.
When is the time? You know, now.
And is the time.
Specifically, what are the dates? Oh, Lord.
So the time will actually be June 25 and 26, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m. It's at the new Charlotte Street.
Which is so cool.
It's so great. We love
is cool.
Charlotte Street. And
It looks beautiful.
yeah. Their open house is this weekend.
Go. That project they have there this weekend seems really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to go, but I've got kids and gigs. Can't do it all.
So that's where
Okay.
and yeah, there's 3 musicians. So it's me, Sasha, and JJ, who is a big old wonderful ball of percussion mastery and dramatic performance. And then the 3 actors, Casey, Courtney, and Christopher, who Callie is working a lot with, and Kyle Mullins, our wonderful choreographer. So it's just like this whole cool team. And the actors are doing all kinds of stuff. They're like dancing and acting.
They're
and
singing?
playing, and they're singing,
Singing.
playing instruments. They're on stage for the entire time, basically. So,
They're playing. Yeah.
what's that like, Casey? Tell us about it.
Well, it's kind of unusually, Kyle and I both, like the last time we did anything on stage, I don't know when his was, but mine was March 2021. No, I'm sorry, March 2020. I was also in a piece about like a 12-step program, like an AA meeting, and we were also in an ARC sharing with the audience. So it's kind of funny. He said that that was the last thing that he did too. The last show that I did on stage in front of people was the same format. It wasn't like it had nothing to do with music, but it was all actors. It was 11 women on stage the entire time, and it was an adaptation of The Taming of the Shrew, which was written by. We had a local playwright, Natalie Licardello, adapt it for us. And my company produced it, and I played Petruchio, so I got to play like the terrible Burt Reynolds. Well, no, I was given the direction of like playing it kind of like Burt Reynolds, but it's Richard Burton to Elizabeth Taylor. I got to play that, which was amazingly fun. But so being on stage the whole time is like I kind of like beat that fear, and I've kind of done a couple of shows where I like never got to leave the stage. So luckily, this isn't my first rodeo with that, but it is my first rodeo, I think, with God, I guess, or at least in a very long time, of like acting, singing, moving, dancing, potentially being ready for some little moments of improv, like some little moments of unpredictability. And also not leaving the stage. I mean, I haven't done like this isn't like a musical. We're not considering it a musical, but that's being a theater actor. That's the experience that I've had with this kind of thing before. And I haven't even done a musical in like 3 years. So it's definitely like kind of boot camp to get back into it. Like every day we're sweating our ever loving butts off, and like
It's really hot.
it's hot.
On beautifully for the patrons.
Yeah, they definitely.
Yeah, we're gonna be really good and sweaty and very real and raw.
You're really hard. Yeah, I mean you are doing a lot of movement and a lot of dancing and hitting drums aggressively and
I mean,
singing.
That's the most important thing to me in a show is hitting drums.
His drums.
Well,
Yeah.
So I tried to get as many people to do that as possible. I wanted 6 floor toms, but alas.
I was gonna say that was one of the
things
that you talked about early on, though, Stacey.
really? Everybody hitting?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted every person to have a floor tom and just
Nice.
Not too late.
do you have any? Okay.
Any floor time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
But yeah, oh wait, Casey, tell us about Rising Tide.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, Rising Tide's my production company in town. We've mostly done theater. We've only been around for 2.5 years. We started in 2018 with a play, and just the past year, I got into video production. So I've produced 1 video now under Rising Tide, and I'm finishing. You all have heard me talk about how I'm finishing a movie right now. I'm in the I have like 5 days left to finish editing a whole movie, and that'll be produced through Rising Tide. That'll play at the Kansas City Virtual Fringe Festival, which is July 18th to August 1st, I think. It's something like that. It lasts a couple of weeks of July.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's cool. We're still kind of a new company. We're still kind of building what we do exactly, but we've done some pretty cool stuff so far. Like the Taming of the Shrew adaptation was just like such a cool thing that I got to work on for like a year and a half building up to it, and we closed that show a week before the Mayor Lucas's directive to like, I think that you
Lockdown.
couldn't have more than 50 people. Yeah, but there was already something going on, and we were all kind of like, oh, have you guys heard of this like COVID thing? Like, I got kissed on the mouth, one of the other actresses, and I kissed on the mouth, and
Like in the play or outside?
like, oh, no, in the play, yeah, like I was playing Petruchio, and she was playing Vincenzo, who's an old Italian man, and she would grab my face and kiss me very hard on the mouth. And we all, and we like at the time we were just like, oh, this is so great. And then later we were like, oh yeah, remember how we did that like a week before?
How we were giving each other COVID the whole time.
Yeah, we had like 11 women in like this very confined space. Yeah, but it was nuts. But we felt so lucky that we got to close that show. Like we didn't get empted. There were so many, you know, theaters in town that had to stop mid-run, and it was just like sucked. I mean, it sucked for every, you know, every artist in town basically got their stuff shut down. And so we got really, really lucky timed that one out just sort of serendipitously. But yeah, we're doing some kind of cool stuff
Do you
over
have
here in
a
Resin
project
Town.
after your movie and stuff?
Yeah, but nothing really set in stone yet. We have a couple other things that we are going to be working on, but nothing that I'm really like saying out loud yet. Mostly, mostly I'm just gonna like rest. I think I'll just like sleep for a full month and you know come up for air to go swimming every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Callie had some pretty big news that I don't think she'll just like pop out and say. So I'll prompt you with it. What is your big news, Callie?
That about what I'll be doing this summer? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, well, other than working on this amazing show, I am traveling to Greece with a fellowship through the Pulitzer Center. So I have been essentially like submitted a proposal for this granted fellowship so that I could go and report overseas. And I'm doing a project that's all about the power of underwater seagrass. And it's this ancient seagrass that is native to the Mediterranean. And it's named after Poseidon. Its name is like Poseidona oceanica. And I'll be following this small institute that is working to replant it because it's rapidly disappearing, and it's one of the oldest organisms on the planet. And it has modern day solutions. It can eject microplastics from the bottom of the ocean out onto the beach using like waves, currents, and it balls it all up, and it's just like a crazy thing. So it doesn't go up the food chain when it's in the ocean. But yeah, so I could talk about it for a long period of time. But
are you going to do research and then you're going to have a writing project at the end, or?
yeah, so the Pulitzer Center is publishing my findings. And so I'm going in end of July, and then coming back and working with, I have like a mentorship, another reporter is working with me on it, and then I publish it. Hopefully, I mean, it will be at the Pulitzer Center, but then hopefully elsewhere too. So I'm going to do some pitching of other publications, people who want to, publish it as well.
And can you link it back to your true passion, which is bread?
Yes,
And
I
also
can.
is you are Greek.
I am Greek, yeah. So that was another reason why I was sort of like thinking about what could I do that would be, you know, I don't want to say beneficial, but like I can go and I can speak Greek to the people that are there and be able to like earn trust and hopefully come back with an authentic story as someone who, you know, my parents are from Greece. My whole family is from Greece. But yeah, so, and I can link it back to bread because that was how I found this institute that's replanting it in the first place. They have like an ancient seed bank, and I was looking into Grecian biodiversity because I wanted to know about their grain resources and who's keeping alive their seeds, because that's important to me.
Like in your spare time for fun?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
the bread passion is deep.
Have you read Braiding Sweetgrass?
We talked about this,
We did.
and you just finished reading it. I think when this
I'm savoring every moment. Like
okay. Multiple people have told me to read it.
You
And
got
I think the last time we had like our one time little group chat where it was like all of us on a Zoom just hanging out together. That was a while ago, maybe February or something. But anyway, Braiding Sweetgrass. I think I would enjoy it. It's about indigenous practices, right?
yes, and like reciprocity in nature.
Yeah.
The woman that wrote it is indigenous, but she's also a botanist. Like she has a PhD in botany, and she just weaves all these stories together so beautifully. And I actually read an article about it, and I was like, that sounds sort of boring. And then I had a friend who had written a piece, like a composer friend had written a piece about it, and I was like, well, and it was like a national article, and it was my friend's piece at the end, and I was like, well,
Wow.
she's cool, and she wrote this cool piece about it. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe it won't be really boring. And then I read the first essay because it's a series of essays, and I was like, this is the most beautiful book I've ever read.
Huh.
Braiding
That sounds
Sweetgrass.
cool. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I have
Kind of on that same wavelength of, nature and learning. That stuff.
Yeah, no, it really is. You're not the first person to recommend it to me. So I really do. I have to read it.
Read it. Buy it. Tax deductible for you. Maybe for me too.
That's true.
Okay, segue. Let's actually talk about the show, maybe.
Okay.
Novel idea.
Well, and the addiction part of it, and it's targeted kind of towards young adults who, I don't know about you guys, maybe we can talk about like maybe some of what we thought addiction is or what we think addiction is, or anything type mental health things based on the stereotypes that we see in film and TV, and like what that just looks like right now. Like I know for me, like there's really only one like version of when 12-step meetings are in film and TV series, and it's like a depressing church basement where like you see like meth addicts that are like completely sunken, and and then they always have it set up as like a speaker meeting. Like it's not in a circle, it's always like someone going to the podium and like depressingly saying how crappy everything is and how embarrassed they are and how horrible it is, and like the lighting is really like and it's like and it's like the main character is usually like, oh shit, they're going to like, I'm being a psychopath. So that's what I see a lot. What do you guys see too? You could be different. Like, no, I think there's great representation.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I guess I haven't really thought about it. Like the last show that I watched was Breaking Bad with it. And like that's probably the nicest parts of that show is when they go to their meetings. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that show Shameless. I like that show. And yeah, that's a big thing for Lip on that show, that he gets sober, and that's like a huge. I don't know that I remember anything where they've like actually shown the meetings. I mean, I'm sure that they have, but what I think about it is like that it's like the saving grace for him, that it's not on that show. It's not set up as a dour kind of place. It's definitely like where he goes to be good.
I agree that it's kind of, shown in not most like in the most attractive way, but I think that kind of, I mean, I have been to several AA meetings and Al-Anon meetings and all the nons, all the A's. Anyway,
All the A's.
I always felt like, I mean, there is a level of that. People bring their shit. They bring their shit to these meetings.
Yeah.
But in the end, I do think it is restorative for so many people. And I do think that at least in the things that I've watched lately, which was probably Shameless and Breaking Bad, I think that was addressed well.
Oh.
Yeah, like I think about the like religious connotation too, which for me personally, that always puts a bit of like a
Yeah.
I want to avoid stuff like that, you know, and a lot of people feel that way. Yeah, that's like a thing that I know people will like, or I've heard at least that people will like avoid AA meetings if they're like, or there's like different stuff that comes up as a response to that, like that the AA handbook or guidebook, whatever, like specifically has something to do with like, you know, giving over to a higher power, right? But so now in 2021 and probably the past decade or more, that a lot of people are like, well, maybe that doesn't work for everyone. Maybe we have to find these different ways and adapt what that 12-step meeting or however, you know, I don't know if it's like always a 12 or
Mm-hmm.
if it gets adapted for each kind of circumstance, depending on, you know, what group is in charge or whatever. But yeah, the religious aspect of it too has always been kind of interesting. That's maybe like one of the first things I knew about it, about that kind of culture, was that it's like, well, you have to like be a God person or something, you know.
Do you think, Stacey, that that's more open to interpretation, or is that like something that is sort of like we're talking about this one specific higher power that is through religious connotation?
Well, that's not, it is interpreted that way too often, but that's not actually what the book says. And it's the original literature says that you need to have a higher power of your own understanding. That's the description of that. There is no actual Christian link.
Oh,
And it gets taken there. Obviously in this country.
yeah. See, yeah, I didn't even know that. I just assumed, like, I thought that. I've always heard that associated that way. That's so interesting.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, and it's kind of like every group that you go to has like different undertones or kind of ways that they interpret things. But yeah, I mean, really, the religious aspect of it scares off so many people, and it's really false. Like, that's not even what the program is supposed to be. It's not like, oh, the people who are not taking it as a religious thing are the people that are diverting from the program. It's actually the people that are taking it into the religious Christian territory are the people that are diverting from what's actually there. You know, but it's just like anything. Like, the text was written by like a white dude in the 1930s, and so it needs to be part of, you know, this whole project is that there are really big problems with 12-step as a whole, like kind of going ultra traditional and like, you know, having that same kind of thing where it's like, well, we need to, you know, stick exactly to the way it has always been done, which would literally be like women wouldn't even be allowed at the Al-Anon, which is the sister program originally to AA, which is for people who have like addicts in their life. It was originally for the wives of AA when the book was written, and like the wives would go to Al-Anon and the men would go to AA. And so that's part of why we really need to open up this conversation more. And like, not all AA groups are like that. There's, you know, and like being more open towards women and LGBTQ people and you know, different ethnicities. I mean, it needs to go there, and that's kind of what there's a bit of a generational debate going on. And so in a lot of circles, like, I am, you know, like, I'm not, what I'm saying right now is like not welcome, you know, and this project would not be, is not welcome in some AA circles, you know. And it's like, well, I got sober when I was like 22 and I was young, and like, if I think of anything that could have gotten me sober any earlier, like, it would have been feeling like if I say something to someone if I come out with what's going on, like it won't be the end of my whole life. Because that's what I felt like. I was like, I knew that I was an alcoholic. I knew that I was like mentally ill. And I was like, but if I say anything, like I'm going to get carted off, you know, and like spend the rest of my life in a straitjacket or under a bridge. And that's not, people need to be able to just come out and say what they're dealing with. It literally helps people get sober earlier. And that's what I'm so concerned about, particularly in 12-step meetings, particularly in 12-step meetings in this part of the country, in, you know, certain political areas, is that we are not welcoming in the people that are younger than me, you know, in their 20s and in high school right now. They are getting put off because they don't want to, they think it's some Christian cult, or, you know, they think we're not even, they could come to a meeting and say, you know, I like do heroin and I also drink. You know, you're not welcome. This is only for alcohol. You know, that's another big part of the debate, is like AA meetings are strictly only for alcohol. And I've heard really offensive crap in those spaces, like, how am I supposed to relate to someone who does heroin or who does meth, like, as an alcoholic? And it's like, that doesn't exist anymore. That kind of drug use and alcohol use doesn't exist anymore for people like even my generation, and the ones certainly younger than ours. Like, they are not just drinking, they're doing, young people are doing heroin. It's like the new kind of high school drug, and meth and opioids. And like, technically they can get turned away at these meetings. And like, that's just not okay with me. You know, like, especially as someone who got sober young, and like, I don't know, like, there's no way of controlling. One of the beauties of 12-step meetings is that everyone works it in their own way, and there are no, like, you know, strict rules, even though some people make them that way. And so it's not like we can all get on the same page completely, but like, we have to have more spaces like that are actually welcoming and inclusive, and trying to work the program in a way that like is not in this kind of traditional
Bubble, whatever, like.
Yeah. And so that's, you know, the other thing is like, I was going to ask you guys if you've ever seen, like, if there's a show or like anything that you've ever seen that shows like someone that's in recovery, like in an actual way, like that, where they're not struggling, like they're not like, oh, that person's in recovery and they like relapse during the show, or like you're always worried about them, you can't trust them, you know, like, is there any character in TV that you've ever seen that is like, I'm in recovery and I'm a badass?
Yeah, no.
Wait, you said in recovery and not a badass?
It's dramatic for, you know what I mean? It's way more interesting to that, have them being all like, fucked up all the time.
That's true. I mean, TV is about fucked up people.
It's TV.
But, yeah.
Right. I watched Grey's Anatomy, and like the head of surgery on there is a recovering alcoholic. And early on, I mean, that show's on like its 17th season. I know some people are like, oh my God, Grey's Anatomy, but that's like one of the shows that I have like watched all of it. All of it from the beginning. And it's still on. Oh yeah, it's still on. I watched it the other day.
Are those same people still on there looking old? No offense to them.
Yeah, well, yeah, the guy who played the chief originally, I can't remember the actor's name, but the character is Richard Weber, and that was an early storyline. A lot was that the head of the hospital was an alcoholic, and he was like hiding it from people, and you know, being a surgeon, that was like a part of like, you know, that's a lot of the drama that they brought to it. But the character has been sober, and I think they relapsed him once, but that's like a huge part, and it'll come back every once in a while. If it's just, even if, you know, a character is struggling in some other way, that character will come in and be the like Papa Bear and give them a good lecture, and he'll relate it back to his own struggles with it. And so it's like a really inspiring part of that show, is getting to like see that character come out of that and be a successful person after that, even, you know, having you know, gotten sober at, you know, 50 years old or something like that.
That is
I probably more of the typical thing, like older
Stacey,
people.
I guess I've never really thought about it like that though. How, I mean, it's true, like Sasha, what you're saying, that it's drama and it adds, suspense. But in the same way, it's like, why can't someone just start? Why can't the story just begin with them in recovery? Like, there's so many things that are worth exploring and worth experiencing and worth putting on a platform that happen after whatever it is that like doesn't, I don't know, like I totally agree with you. I think that should be shown more. And we have some characters that are like that are, are a little further along and a little more grounded in themselves, and like their biggest issues have nothing, I mean, it's more to do with like their relationships. I don't want to give too much away. You should come see the show. But but yeah, there are other things that people in recovery can experience in life.
Yeah.
And be seen experiencing.
I think it just gets like very reductive, like it's about drinking, it's about alcohol or drugs or whatever, when like, but that's not all it is. And really there's like a lot more interesting stuff to like talk about than just kind of like
right
that problem, like, why you're drinking and like the issues that you're going through in that process, and like digging that up and, addressing it and moving past it, or, if you're in recovery, like that journey of like actually finding yourself, because it is basically just like, it's like a blank canvas. You feel just like, not like a baby, but almost like your skin, it's everything is so out there and like raw, and to me that's like a lot more interesting than like you got drunk, oh no, they got drunk again. Man, they're alcoholics. End of the show.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of like, Callie and I have worked on the characters, and hopefully throughout, as we continue this project adapts for different settings, like there's different characters, but the ones that we have now, we've kind of worked on like, and there's almost no talk of actual drinking or using. So,
yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It is really focused on just like their lives. I mean, like you're saying, like their complex, layered, whatever is happening underneath that is like the reason for, like, it almost feels like it's like when you only talk about drinking or showing someone getting drunk, it's like very surface level. And like you said, it's not digging into the reasons, like why, like what is the greater issue, or like what actually is going on. And we talk a lot about that.
Yeah, and I think those things are far more interesting. I agree. They're more interesting and they're more unifying to us all, because it doesn't matter if you use alcohol, food, drugs, sex, whatever you're into, and everybody's into something, like probably too much. I mean, most people, but you know what I mean? I think those underlying issues are things that we can all connect to, because we're all living this life that is hard, and there's a lot of things in life that are, cause us pain, and we have to figure out how to deal with.
Yeah. That's
that's more interesting.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, I mean, now
somebody should write a show about it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I started thinking about with work, like with making art and pieces and stuff. It was like a lot of things just started feeling really superficial, like, Sasha is also in the like contemporary world or classical world of music too, and it's like a lot of it is, well, I don't want to just like totally whatever, but not all is great.
Well, not a lot of anything is great.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's not filtering through yet.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to last and what's not going to last.
Well, yeah, but some of it just seems like put on. It does. I don't know. I just started thinking about like how to like actually like relate to people and how to talk about things that in a way where it's like everyone goes through this in some way, and like what are the real like kind of human experience like things that bring us all together, and are the questions that are never really answered and we keep at, like that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in like talking about in my work, and also that's what I'm interested in seeing in other people's work. And I would have never like really had that viewpoint of it until I got sober. And like, I don't know, for me, like I was like very lone wolfy, and like I really didn't want to be a part of the world. And like so much of my like recovery was about like feeling apart, and like the people in meetings like being like I've done that, I've been where you are, or like just nodding their heads and just making food and making friends, and like it brought me into like actually living like on the planet with other people, and that's like so powerful. And I don't know, like I just think those are the conversations that we really need to be having. So that's kind of what we get into a little bit in the show.
Yeah, I hadn't connected before that there really isn't, like, we don't talk about drinking, the characters. I mean, like the three of us aren't up there being like, oh yeah, this is a drink. We really are just talking about our underlying problems, what's driving us to be so upset with the world or with ourselves. Yeah, vulnerability, being able to, I love pieces like this. A part of what I wanted to say tonight was just that I am like so thrilled to get to do this, because I love unusual, projects like this. But yeah, getting to like play these characters in these very vulnerable spaces in this very intimate setting, and it's just three of us, and it really is powerful. I've said a couple of times, like with the music playing too, that I feel like, at least for me, if I was seeing this show, I would feel like I was in a therapy session for sure. Like with the music too, not just with sitting in the formation, but letting it all kind of wash over you, and it does really feel like sort of like yeah, I mean, you guys created a journey for sure. It's definitely like a healing kind of process getting to go through it. Yeah. It's very vulnerable. Yeah.
Callie, you, without like getting too far into it, but we invited you to a 12-step meeting, so you got to kind of sit in. How'd you feel about that?
Doing research again.
Callie,
I'm doing continuing. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't really know what I was expecting per se. I don't think I went into it like thinking too much about what I thought it would be like, but then at the same time, I left and just like felt like gushing about just the support, like the underlying just like presence of people there. And even though, I mean, obviously it was during the pandemic, and so everything was virtual. But it just felt like everyone was there for each other. Like very simply, there was like zero pretense. People were being very blunt about their days, or about like what the struggles they're experiencing or going through, and like what's happening in their lives. And it just, yeah, I think I just felt like unwavering. It just felt so supportive. And so that's interesting to hear you say, Casey, how vulnerable it feels to be up there doing it, and to be almost like as if it's a therapy session, because that was sort of what it felt like to me watching people. Like I felt like a very present listener to someone who was just like bearing their soul, like plainly, like just being like, I mean, I'm not obviously going to give any examples, but it was just amazing to see people being so honest and being like owning whatever it is or not, and then being able, like, I don't know, being able to I don't want to say to like tell, but that was something that like Stacey has talked about before, is that like you can tell when someone is at certain stages of program and like, you know, where they are with how much they're willing to share, or like how honest they're being with themselves. And so, yeah, I felt really grateful.
There's like a lot, like, yeah, I mean, Callie, you wrote the monologues and like you did just a great job. There's like a lot of like work on, I still think people that are in recovery or have attended like 12-step meetings will like really fully get a lot of these monologues, not in a different way, because there's a lot of, oh,
Here it goes.
Oh,
the ghost.
She's a ghost.
it goes, the phantom of the horizon.
Is your ear good?
Okay,
Do you know what
stop asking me if I have a ghost.
Does the
My
shadow
lights,
in your house-
my lights just flickered too. That was really weird. My lights just flickered too.
the whole power surge in the whole city. Okay.
And I'm far away from you.
Yeah, you are.
Maybe it's the ghost of the guy who wrote AA.
Maybe
just
it's
being
when
like,
time-
it's tripping!
Oh God. Oh God. He's mad.
I had a lot
What
of
are
things.
these ladies doing?
A lot of things just popped in my head that I will keep to myself now.
Think of once.
Wait, I keep it to myself. Anyway, moving on. What were we talking about before the ghost?
Well, what are you?
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to talk about it if you want to, but like, do you have anything to say about having gone to Al-Anon or 12-step?
What do I have to say? No, I agree. I mean, I just like how everybody is, everybody's really present with each other, and you can't say, you can't interject, which like for me is really hard. But I haven't gone in a long time. I would go with my mom, and she kind of forced me to go because we had a lot of things going on in our family growing up. And a lot of times I would go like to Alateen, which is the thing, but I was like a little girl. And so I was intimidated by all the older cool teenagers and usually wouldn't share. But there's always there's a level of truth that I appreciate and I search out in my everyday. And there's a level of presence that everybody else is willing to give them without, it's like presence without comment. It's like, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for showing up and being you, and I'm here for you. You know what I mean? But I'm not judging you. I'm not telling you my shit at the same time. I wait for my turn, and I think that's really cool. And a lot of people are lonely, and a lot of people don't have anybody to be honest with.
Yeah,
And I think it can be a great tool.
Definitely.
But I agree that just going back to it's the underlying stuff. It's the underlying stuff. The alcohol or whatever is just a symptom.
Right.
You've been to some meetings, yeah.
One thing that kind of sticks out to me, or that I'm wondering is or that I'm realizing now as we're talking about it, when we talk about like the bonding and how these people are there for each other, even though it's anonymous, right? But it sort of feels like its own community. And obviously our show has people that see each other all the time. But the way that I have kind of seen it depicted in pop culture is that you kind of go randomly, like you're like, oh, I got to find a meeting. I have to find a meeting somewhere in the city. There's a meeting somewhere. So like, that makes me think that you're almost never with the same people. Like, it's not like something where you go, unless you do go regularly and you just find that, like that part of it, it's kind of interesting to me, the sort of unpredictability of like, you really do have to be ready to be vulnerable if you don't know even who you're going to be, you don't it's not like class where you go and you're with the same people all the time. Like, that's another element of it that I don't know. I don't think that's, every time I've seen it in pop culture, it seems like it's anonymous, but that people like kind of know each other, or like they go with their sponsor every time or something.
Yeah. At least in my life, my mom was very active in it and had a lot of relationships that were lasting for many, many, many years through it. So I think, but people would come and go. People get off the wagon or on or whatever it is.
Or maybe you just like, it's like you have there's a thing called a home group. So, that would maybe like your home group is where you go most of the time or whatever. But, maybe sometimes you decide to go try a new meeting out, because you want that experience of, meeting new people and just being in like a meeting where you're talking to strangers and, or like going when you're traveling, like one of the great things, is like there's an AA meeting or whatever meeting anywhere in the world, actually. So, and I don't know, I think it's two different things. Now I kind of feel like I used to go to like all kinds of meetings, all the meetings, and I used to actually be like more comfortable talking in meetings than I am like nowadays. And like now I just like going to the groups where I like, well, actually, and Kansas City is really small, so. But
It's supposed to be anonymous, damn it.
yeah. But yeah, I like kind of like having the long relationships, especially now that I kind of have some years. It's like, I've known you for 6 years. We've been going to meetings together for 6 years, 8 years. Well, no, I haven't been in a meeting with someone for my whole time, but yeah, still.
Wow. And you've like written these characters to be like, I remember at some point you talked about, or maybe it was written somewhere, I saw it in some document, that each of the characters kind of represents some part of you, Stacey. Like, is that something that was like really, really intentional?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, Casey's character, like that's probably the one, the obvious connection.
Okay.
Like, very type A, like,
I'm playing Stacey.
It's not bitchy. It's like,
Okay.
I did everything that I was supposed to do. So why is this happening to me? And like feeling like if the one thing that you believe in your whole life that makes you feel safe is that like you have the power to do something, I have the power to control me, then when you realize that you don't, it is just so terrifying. I mean, that's really what it was for me, like truly realizing like I actually do not have any power. Like alcohol will kill me. Like I can't. I don't have the willpower. I can't. And so like that is really crushing, especially if that's like the one thing that you put all your stock into, And so that's kind of Casey's character. And then Courtney is kind of the one, like, I mean, Courtney in the group is kind of in Al-Anon-ish, because she's dealing with alcoholic parents. And so that's part of, I guess, growing up as a woman and in my family life and, being on that path where you need to take up more space and like maybe, in your family, you don't ever talk about anything and like, that makes it really difficult to kind of understand what's going on, what's under, like even state things about yourself and like see them as something, like that whole kind of journey. And Christopher is vaguely inspired by someone that Callie and I both knew. But in addiction, like it's also the experience of like, no, I'm really being performative as a way to cope and as a way to like, if it's your thing that like everyone will think you're fine, which was kind of my thing too. Everyone will think I'm fine. It doesn't actually matter if I'm fine. But everyone will think that I am.
I will convince them that I am fine.
Right. And so
That like you just described all of social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Instagram.
Yeah. It's like,
why am I on this?
Yeah.
Why am I on this?
That look good.
And that's yeah. And so also like, it's common kind of tropes, I guess, too. Like that's the other thing you learn, like you're not really the only person that's ever, kind of had experienced this kind of stuff. Like, so I think, in hearing those stories, when I hear like those monologues, it makes me laugh, it makes me smile because I can think about myself, but I can also think about a lot of people that I've heard saying the same stuff, So, yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So when is the show again? What time is it? What time?
When in time?
When time.
Win time.
It's the time. It's June
Ooh,
25.
Do you have a poster by chance?
We have a poster here. I just printed them off.
Ooh la la.
Gorgeous.
And
Cool.
so you'll see these around the Kansas City area.
Please come.
June 25, 26 at 8 p.m. on Notify KC's website or my personal website. You can buy tickets. You'll see all these wonderful ladies and some other people.
Us wonderful ladies and the other people.
And the others.
Some other people.
Other people, they're wonderful too.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. So we promoted okay, one thing, Notify is I'm wearing our queer narratives woohoo t-shirt.
And she's
And-
dancing about it too. Do that again.
I just want to see my
Woo!
Yeah, I just want to see you both. Really.
So you can buy this t-shirt on Notify KC's page. We have like a pride collection. This has the full lineup of artists on the back. 18 queer artists presenting for a whole week at the Black Box Heidi Van's place down in the West Bottoms, which is killer. And so yeah, go for your pride stuff. Support local, actual queer artists. It will go there. It will go to actual queer artists in Kansas City. So go buy the t-shirt. Anyone else? I know we talked a little bit, but any quick promos for each of you, Sasha?
Oh, I have a show on Saturday at Lemonade Park.
Is that the one with?
Sure. Oh, it's with my duo, The Wires, and Addie Dancy and Mayadi. And so it's a lot of string ladies writing with a whole lot of original material. Come support your local string ladies and
She's
your
shredding.
local singer-songwriters.
Shredding. Cool. Casey, anything?
Yeah. Go see at the Kansas City Virtual Fringe Festival. Faring Through the Ages is what the movie is called that I made
Again?
with other people who are also great. It's called Faring Through the Ages. It's inspired from a Hosier. I'm sorry, that's not how you say his name. Hosier. That's not how you say it either.
Who's a hoe? Who are you calling? Oh, girl.
Wait, is it like the singer guy?
Yeah, the singer guy.
Take me to church.
Yeah, Hosier. Yeah. Take Me to Church guy. He has a song called "But the Wages." So the playwright kind of initially wrote it inspired by that song, and then the title kind of changed, and so
Cool.
that's the inspiration for the title. But yeah, Faring Through the Ages. It's a little 50-minute movie. Go see that. Kansas City Virtual Fringe. You can watch it from anywhere, even Washington Heights or anywhere else.
There you go. And Callie.
Yeah, you can read come October a lovely piece in the Pulitzer Center, pulitzercenter.com about seagrass, about the power of seagrass. And then also I'm working on a podcast that is called Talk Easy with Sam Fragoso, and it's an amazing podcast and everyone should go listen to it. And I'm doing some research and writing for them. And they just had Ocean Vuong on. And so I don't know if anyone has read his book, but he's a poet and it's amazing. It's called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, but
We can listen to those podcasts. We're all on podcasts. You can find all your podcasts.
yes, exactly.
Cool. But most importantly, come to the show. So go buy those tickets.
Yeah, come to the show.
Obviously that's more important than everyone else's thing. Thank you all so much for coming here and joining us. I really love working with each of you. This has been like really a great time, and especially now that we're rehearsing all together finally in person. So very thankful for all of you, and I'm grateful, and I'll pass.
Let's go have a drink. Just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke, everybody. That was a joke.
All right. Thank you all. We'll see you later.
Bye.